Welcome to PBS NewsHour. I'm Maria Webb. Today we'll be talking about the gay divorcee with an emphasis on the beautiful scene of Night and Day performed by Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. The Gay Divorcee was released in 1934. At its base, it's a flirty conversation between Fred Astaire, Guy Holden, and Mimi Glossip, Ginger Rogers. Yet through choreographic choices, dynamic changes, and elaborate settings, it becomes a scene that has become a staple in music history and dance history. The choreographic choices of the scene between Mimi and Guy begin calmly with Guy singing about how much he adores her to Mimi. She wants to interact and listen to what he is saying, yet she often turns her head or back to him as an internal struggle of keeping her distance. But it often gets the best of her. Her movement illustrates this by the way she uses her upper torso. When she moves her head away, she looks away as if someone is offering her something vulgar for dinner she did want not to smell. The upper body is integral to the execution of the beginning of the piece. In many of the scenes, Guy is earnestly singing to Mimi with many gestures to his heart and fixating his attention to her, but she still shies away. You can see how much Guy wants her because Guy touches his heart. He does not slam it to his chest and rip his heart out. He touches his heart and hands it to her as if delicately offering her a flower. This scene is all about establishing a connection between the two and creating that tension of will they or won't they? Now, talking about the dynamics, they change as their interactions unfold. Dancers use the stage. It is evident that the venue in which they are placed is essential to creating the scene. The change goes from a constant calm but fleeing nature by Mimi to an apparent bodily interest that is forming towards Guy. Mimi still continues to have Guy chase her, yet there are moments of fast forward and then slowing down. These moments of fast forward are when Mimi begins to get up and physically move away from Guy in a hurry. When she moves quickly across the room, Guy is right there behind her with his neck stretched out to her to make sure his words are heard. The action of chasing her initiates the slowing down. His voice starts to create thoughts in her mind that stop her in her tracks. This scene showcases Mimi's internal struggle of herself as a woman in this new society to be independent, yet the male figure still getting in the way of her independence. As the song progresses, Mimi's quality becomes less removed from Guy. She is allowing him to draw nearer to her and becomes momentarily entranced in his song more and more often. Like many of the performances of its time, the climax begins after a crescendo in not only the music but in Guy's voice. He is declaring his love louder than he had the entire time and is a signal to the audience that a giant shift is coming. The music becomes louder and the two begin dancing. The music and the dancing become interestingly entwined. When Guy and Mimi are dancing together, and she seems uninterested, the music reverts back to the quietness the beginning had. Yet, when Mimi starts to engage with Guy, the music crescendos and becomes very exciting. Mimi's changing dynamic is shown when she suddenly draws away from Guy. The two could be engaged in a ballroom movement, very close together, twirling around the floor, and then Mimi will pull away from Guy, thus initiating the change in music. These changes happen almost every 10 seconds of the piece. In a more intricate view, it also touches on how things can go from very negative to very positive within a moment, something that the nation had been struggling with since the end of the Depression. Going back to will they or won't they, the use of cat and mouse in this scene keeps the viewer interested because you're not entirely sure as to when the next crescendo will be or when Mimi will succumb to Guy's dancing and enjoy his presence, which is possibly something an audience wants to see, as the softness of Guy's song has persuaded us to feel that way. It would be interesting to see Mimi completely blow off Guy and not be engulfed in his song, yet during this time, the movie is already pushing the boundaries of Mimi getting a divorce, so for her to reject men altogether would be a far-fetched idea. Now that Mimi has allowed Guy to persuade her into dancing with him, the choreographic elements of their relationship changes from two separate people dancing to two people dancing with each other. The movement is ballroom dancing that is found in many of the movies of its time. Although this type of movement exhibits much interaction between the two dancers, somehow the choreographer was able to frame the piece to still illustrate Mimi's hesitancy of Guy. When Guy and Mimi are dancing, there are still moments where Mimi is unsure of the man she is dancing with, and this is choreographed and executed perfectly. The choreographic choices of suddenly removing herself or almost letting a twirl finish but cutting out of it at the last second parallels how in life we escape from uncomfortable situations. It seems extremely difficult to be able to be completely immersed in a piece where one person is jubilant and the other is only jubilant at particular times. Guy does not lose his demeanor when Mimi pulls away. He continues dancing as if he is unaffected by what had just happened to him. Mimi's character had the tough feat of being disinterested while still at moments becoming increasingly infatuated with Guy as he serenades her. Night and Day was a dance scene accompanied by a wonderful song that has gone down in history as one of the greatest. Although the song has become famous as solo from the dancing itself, the dancing does showcase all the love that the singer of the song feels as they are singing it to someone else. And Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire capture that essence tremendously within this performance. I'm Maria Webb, and thank you for joining us at PBS NewsHour. A special thanks to Luna Enterprises for all of their wonderful help in the making of this video. Luna Enterprises, we may be small, but we are mighty.